Hello and welcome to the Letcher County Government Channel. My name is Michael Mullins. I'm the Ag and Natural Resource Assistant here at the office. And today we're going to discuss a little bit about beekeeping. A couple days ago we had a beginning beekeepers workshop and we had a lot of people express interest in this. So today we're going to just further that discussion on beekeeping. I got an observation hive here that I'll go into, and so you can see some pictures of what it would look like inside the hive. We're not going to actually get into the hive. We got some live hives right here next to us. They're just now starting to get warm enough to fly, so you may occasionally see a honeybee pass by. So hopefully we won't get stung today. We're right at the mouth of the hive, but wish us luck. So first off, I'm going to start with some of the basics of beekeeping. We're going to talk about some of the equipment that you might need. First and foremost, for the beginner, the most important would be a good bee suit. If you're not comfortable around bees, if you're nervous around bees, once you get into that hive, you want to be calm and collected when you get in that hive. You don't want to go in there nervous. So the best way to ease a beginner's mind is to have a good full coverall bee suit with a veil and long gloves. But there's multiple types. You have a cotton type, you have a synthetic type, and you have a 3-layer ventilated type. In my preference, I like the synthetic. It's a little lighter, but it does keep a lot of your body heat in. If you get into beekeeping, you'll quickly find out that there's no way around the heat. You're going to be in the heat no matter what. When you're getting in these hives and working them, it's going to be the hottest parts of the summer. So whether you get the ventilated, it may keep you a little cool, but you're still going to burn up. And the ventilated, in my opinion, is very heavy and bulky. So in my opinion, the synthetic coveralls and veils and stuff are the best. Next thing you'll need definitely is a smoker. With me here, I brought a brand new smoker that I have. You can just put any type of fuel in there. You can put leaves, pine needles. We have burlap that we burn in air sometime. They make pellet fuel for it. There's all kinds of different types. And the reason for this smoker is when you first get in the hive, you're gonna light your smoker up and you're gonna smoke the front entrance of your hive. This will calm the bees down. It'll make the bees think there's a forest fire around. So the bees will think there's a forest fire and they'll go and start eating honey and gorging on honey. And once they get their bellies full, they're worthless. So they won't be thinking about stinging or protecting the hive. Also, the bees communicate through pheromones, and using the smoke blocks those pheromones to be transferred from one bee to the other. So one bee can't tell the other bee there's somebody getting in the hive to go and attack. So that's the reason for the smoker. Definitely one of the most important tools. Another tool you will need as a beginner is a hive tool. There's two different types of hive tools. I recommend this one with the J hook on the end. It is used to get in between your frames and pry your frames. Once you get bees building up honey and wax and stuff in there, those frames will stick together and be really hard to get out. So have one with a J hook so you can pry. And they make another one with a little scraper here on the end. That's a handy tool, but you can do prying with that, but with the J hook, I recommend the J hook. It's a lot easier. Next, we're going to go in when you're beginning beekeeping. You'll definitely need your boxes and all the other equipment here. So we're going to tear down this hive here. This is just an observation hive. And the hive body is actually a 8 frame, and I got a 10 frame everything else is 10 frame. So if it don't look like it fits together, that's because it's two different size boxes. But starting from the top and working your way down, when you get into the hive, you'll first notice your outer cover. This is a fiberglass outer cover, but they make wood ones with metal around it for protection of the weather. But this is just the outer cover that you take off first. And second, you'll get to an inner cover. This is just a solid piece of board with a hole in it, so you could put feed and things in there, and so they can get up to it. But the next thing would be the inner cover. Now this one will be glued down when you have bees in there. They'll use what they call propolis. It's a glue that they found naturally, sort of like a tree sap kind of substance that they glue everything down with. So this will be stuck together. So that's another good use for your hive tool. And then you'll get into where your bees are, and this will be your brood chamber, where your queen and all the other bees are. The brood chamber is where the queen does all of her laying and raises new bees. So that would be your bottom box. And after you get to your bottom box, you'll get into your bottom. This is just a solid bottom. They make a screen bottom, which is good for when varroa mite control. It'll let the varroa mites, and we'll get into some of the pests and things later, but that lets the varroa mites, if it's got a screen in it, fall through. So that's just the components of the hive. We'll go now into more about the types of bees, honeybees that's in the hives. You have 3 different bees in your hive. You have your queen bee, which is probably one of the most important, single most important bee in your hive. She's the one that does all the egg laying, and that's her sole purpose, is just lay eggs. She goes through around all the open frames, all the open comb, and all her purpose is just to lay eggs. And she's a little bit bigger than all the other bees, well, actually quite a bit bigger than the rest of the bees. She's a lot longer and than the rest. The second one is your worker. Now your worker bee is the one that pretty much runs the hive. She will go out and collect the nectar and the pollen. She'll clean out dead bees. She'll clean out cells. She does all the housekeeping. She raises the brood, feeds the brood. So she's the worker. She's what keeps the hive going. And third is your drones. The drone bees are the only male bee in the whole hive. Their sole purpose is just to mate with the queen. And in the fall, to tell you what happens to them in the fall, they don't have any use in the fall when they're ready to go to winter. So what the other bees will do is they'll bite the wings and legs off of the drones, and they'll drag them out and kick them out, so they'll freeze to death. So during the winter, there'll be no drones, but in the spring, they'll start raising drones for mating purposes in the spring. So we're going to go through next, and we're going to go through the hive frame by frame, this observation hive, and we're going to show you some pictures of what you might see in the hive. We can do that. We'll take a little break, and we'll go back and get in the hive when we come back. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the Letcher County Government Channel, and again, my name is Michael Mullins, the Ag and Natural Resource Assistant here at the office. And now we're going to go in frame by frame in our observation hive to give you an idea of what you might see. For safety purposes, we're not going to get into the main hive. I'm not dressed, but you can see it's about getting close to 50 degrees right now. It's still cool. So they're just now warming up, so they're flying about. So we're going to go through frame by frame. I'm going to get down here on one knee, and I'll show you sort of what we got going. Right here is a picture of the queen that I mentioned earlier. You notice she is longer and bigger than the rest of the bees. The bees around her are looks like all worker bees. And you can see up here in the corner, this is all honey that has been stored, which there's a better picture here coming up. But you can see her long abdomen, and a lot of times if you buy bees, and I guess I need to talk about purchasing bees. I will after I mention this. But sometimes when you purchase bees, you can get a marked queen, and it just makes it easier to spot her among the tens of thousands of bees that's in that hive. And each year they'll have a different color. Last year was white, I think, and this year is yellow. So that'll tell you what year she was bred and hatched. But it'll be right here on this shiny piece right behind her head. She'll be marked most of the times. I'll go ahead and talk about, before I move on, about purchasing bees. There's a couple different ways when you're first getting started to get in and buy bees. One way is through package bees. Package bees they usually come from the south. You got to sort of be careful because they can bring in diseases, but they are usually 3 pounds package bees, and it comes with a queen. The good upside about a package bee is you know exactly the genetics in that package. You know whether you purchased Italians, Russians, Carnolians. You'll know specifically what kind of bee that you have. Another way you can get bees is if you catch a swarm. If you know of a beekeeper close that has bees, and they can probably give you a swarm, or if there's a wild swarm, you can catch those. You do have to be careful about the swarms, though. They can be unsafe to get. Last year we had one of these hive swarm, and it went to the main top of this pine tree in the background, in the main tippy top limbs. So you can run into some dangerous situations having to climb up trees and cut those out. So you got to be careful with that. Also, you do not know the genetics of that swarm, especially if it's a wild swarm. You don't know what type of bee is in there, so you got to be careful with that. And they're varying sizes. Some of the swarms are real small, and some of them are huge. And when a beehive swarms, the old queen, which they have started to replace, they replace her because she has slowed in her egg laying. She's not laying eggs as much, so they'll try to replace her. So when they kick her out, she leaves, and she takes a bunch of bees with her. And those bees will clump around her. They'll fly to a limb nearby, and she'll be in the center. And it could be multiple queens, not just one queen. There could be multiple, and there'll be a bunch of bees around her. And then they're searching for a new home. So there'll be other bees out looking for ideal places, and you can set out baits and stuff to sort of attract them to another hive, but the method to go is to get a bed sheet and shake them into a bed sheet, or into a box, or cut the whole limb off and shake them into another hive. So those are the ways that you can get in and buy your first bees, or find your own bees. The swarms are free most of the time, unless you get from a beekeeper. They may charge you for a swarm. And the package bees run around $100 plus, so that gives you a sense of how much to expect to pay for them. On the back of this, it just shows more capped honey. When they bring in nectar, they process it, and once the moisture level is suitable for them, they'll cap it with a wax covering, and that's what you're seeing on this. And that's all harvestable honey. It's ready to be harvested. A lot of times when you get in there, you can see in the cells, you can see shiny liquid in there, and that's just nectar that hasn't been finished yet, hasn't been processed into honey yet. So this is just capped honey. And this, they'll pack honey down in the brood chamber as well, around the brood where they're raising. But for a beekeeper, they put what they call supers, which is a little shallower. Actually, this hive here is 2 mediums, and usually that is what they collect their honey in. So they usually put like a queen excluder above, which is just I don't have one with me, but it's a wire mesh that is so that the worker bees can pass through it, but the queen bee can't. She's a little bit bigger, so she can't pass through it. So she can't get up there and lay eggs, but the workers can go up there and pack honey in there. So you'll have more boxes piled on top of it where they store their excess honey stores. And that's where you'll find all your honey. Moving on to the next frame. Here you could see the eggs that the queen has laid. Sometimes they can be really hard to spot. If you can look in each of these cells, you can see one tiny little white egg sticking up. And once she attaches it to the bottom of the cell, and the egg will be standing up and down, so you'll know that that is a freshly laid egg. And if you have trouble finding the queen, once you see this, you don't necessarily have to lay your eyes on the queen. Once you see this, you know that she's been there recently, probably that day, because those are day-old fresh eggs. And let's see what's on the back side of it. Okay, once the egg hatches, it'll turn into a larva. You can see it curled up in the bottom here, and you can see the bees around it feeding it. This picture here is them feeding that larva the food that they need to grow. And then later on, once that larva has matured, they'll put a capping over it. And I think the next frame here shows us capping. You can actually see the capping here, but I think the next frame will show you a close-up. So that is what the eggs and the larva look like. Moving on to the next frame. Yes, right here is the cap brood. And you can tell the health of the queen by the brood pattern. This looks like a very solid brood pattern. Some of the gaps here is where some of the bees have already started to hatch out. But you can see that she hasn't missed a single cell in that whole frame. Down here you can see larva that is about to be capped. So you could tell that right there is a very healthy queen. That is a good sign of telling you the queen's health. So that is cap brood, ready to hatch in a day or so. And on the back is just mixed brood. I sort of pointed that out on the last frame. You can see the eggs and the larvae, and also the cap brood ready to hatch out. So that's what you'll see, and that's an indication of a healthy queen and a strong queen, and that's what you want to see when you get in your hive. Next frame. This is the brood hatching. Once the larva hatches out into a bee, and that bee is ready to emerge, it'll chew that capping away and hatch out. And those new bees will be light colored, almost white looking, and they become the nurse bees. They start taking care of all the other small brood and eggs around them. And as they age is when they start to leave the hive, and the older worker bees is the ones out foraging for nectar and pollen. So that is the brood hatching out. On the back side is starting to get into some of the pests that you'll see. You can see the hive beetle here. And when you see hive beetles in your hive, that's an indication that you're starting to have a weak hive. Not necessarily that it's weak, but if you see a lot of hive beetles, that means your hive is more than likely weak. And you can see the small brood pattern there. Not a lot of brood in that hive, so you could tell it's getting weak. A good strong hive will run these things away. You don't have to worry about it much in a really strong hive. because they'll fight against them. But in a weak hive, they can take over, and they'll lay eggs in your honey stores, and they'll hatch out, and it'll be a mess once you get in there, because that honey will start to ferment, and you'll have a big mess. So those are definitely a problem. Okay, moving on to our next frame. This frame here shows some of the pollen that they pack in, and I've noticed that the hives today, they're actually packing in pollen as you sit here and watch them. They have little pollen sacs on the back of their feet that they go when they collect pollen, and you can watch them as they go in the hive, the yellow on the backs of their legs, and that is pollen. Actually, right there's one about to fly in. It's got pollen on the back of their legs. So you could tell that I think right now the red maples are in bloom, so that's probably where they're getting their pollen. Right now is from the red maples. So you can watch the front of your hive and tell if something's blooming or not. If you're not too in tune with what's going on around you, you can actually watch the bees, and they'll tell you for you. So they'll take that pollen in there, and they'll pack it in there, and that is a good food source for the brood, and a good food source for all the bees. And the pollen is packed with protein, so that's how they get their protein, is from the pollen. And the honey that they eat, that's another food source for them, and that is all carbohydrates. So they need both of those to raise brood. So in the spring, that is very important to look for in your hive. On the back side, these frames really ain't for presentation purposes. It don't really flow well, but here is a queen cup. This is what it looks like when your queen has either died or your queen is failing, and they're going to supersede and make a new queen. It looks sort of like a peanut shaped. They'll build that cell out, and they'll feed her what they call royal jelly, and it's just a good, rich food source that they feed that bee for a long time, so she will be able to hatch out and produce all of her organs needed to start laying eggs and things. So that is a queen cup. So that's a sign that you have some problems in your hive, that something's going wrong with your queen if you see a queen cup. Next here is going to be, we'll go ahead and do this, beetle larvae. Well, I mentioned the hive beetle earlier. You can see on this picture that the beetles, the larvae is hatched out and starting to eat the honey, and you can see all the nasty mess in there. Honey starts fermenting, and you definitely do not want that. You want those beetles out. So that's what it looks like, the damage from the hive beetles. On this side, this is one of probably their biggest pests, is what they call varroa mites. And I don't know if you could see, if there's in this picture, but it's a small little mite that grows, that feeds on the bees. And over time, it can weaken the hive so much to where they don't have enough bees going into winter, and they can have what they call winter kill. If the bees cluster, they don't hibernate. They cluster and move about and constantly produce heat. And if that cluster's not big enough, they will freeze to death. So a varroa mite is a big pest, and you can't really see it good in this picture, but it's just a small little mite. They can be hard to spot, and one way you can sort of get an idea of how many mites you have is if you have a screen bottom board. Those mites will fall through that screen, and you can have cardboard or anything underneath there, corrugated cardboard. You can pull out and sort of get a rough estimate of how many mites are in your hive. So that's another pest that you are going to run across in beekeeping, and they make treatments and things for varroa mites to help with those. Moving on, see what our next frame has. This is some more pest problems. The wax moth, you won't have a problem with wax moth in a healthy hive, in an active hive. The wax moth will take advantage when you start storing all your old comb and all your frames, all your wax and things. That moth will take advantage of that, and that's what it looks like when they infest your frame. So you definitely want to prevent that, and we can have a workshop one day that discusses all the pest and pest management in beehives. But this is just a brief overview of some of the pests you'll see. Wax moths. And here is a disease. It's chalk brood, and that's just a disease where the brood doesn't hatch. The brood dies. For some reason, there's a disease in there, and the brood just dies in the cell and never hatches. So you could see that. And I think we have one more frame here to run through. American foul brood. AFB, that's another disease with the brood, and you could tell that by using a toothpick and poking through the caps, the capped cells here, and if it ropes, that's a test method of how to test for American foul brood. If it ropes, then you can tell you have American foul brood, and the only solution to it is to get rid of everything, burn your frames and your wax to get rid of that. So we can have that'll be a whole separate talk, and that's actually getting more into beekeeping than the beginner level talking about some of these diseases and pests. So we can have a pest management workshop soon, and this is just more advanced American foul brood. So that is sort of a brief overview of what you will see in a hive. The bees are starting to get very active now. They're flying about. So that's just a brief overview of the bees. If you're interested more in beekeeping, we would like to see you at the local beekeeping, local beekeeper club. They meet right now the second Tuesday of every month, and they are looking for more members. So if you are interested, please give us a call at the office, 606-633-2362. You can either talk to me, my name is Michael Mullins. You could talk to Shad Baker, or you can talk to Crystal Smith, and they'll give you the information you need to join the beekeepers. And make sure you come out to the beekeepers meetings. There's a lot of good information if you're an advanced beekeeper. You've been keeping bees for years. That's a wealth of knowledge there you can come to and learn a whole lot. You'll learn a lot more at the meetings than you will looking on the internet and reading in a book. That's my opinion. You'll be able to learn a lot more coming to the meetings. So if you're interested, just give us a call. 606-633-2362, and we hope that this helps all the beginning beekeepers, and we hope to see you at the upcoming meetings.